This lesson is over 1.6 quadratics. Today we will identify the zeros, the roots, solutions, and x-intercepts in the number of solutions of a quadratic function from its graphs. Now, a quadratic is an equation that can be written in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. This right here is written in standard form. All quadratics equals 0. You can solve quadratic equations by graphing, factoring, and the quadratic formula. Now, when you're talking about graphing, the graph of a quadratic function is a parabola. And the parabola can intersect the x-axis at one point, which is one solution, 2 points, which is two solutions, or not at all, which is called no solutions. Factoring, make sure the equation is written in standard form, which is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. You're going to factor it out and solve, and then using the quadratic formula. Negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. However, we're going to wait on factoring in learning how to use the quadratic formula until later. Today we're going to be looking at just graphing quadratic formulas. Now, as we look at this right here, we're going to identify the zeros, the roots, solutions, intercepts of a quadratic from its graph. Now, solutions of a quadratic equation will consist of the x-coordinates of the points where the graph crosses the x-axis. So you're looking at the x-axis right here. The zero of a function for the function f, any x such as f of x equals to 0. Example, the zeros right here are at -1 and 1. So this one has two solutions because the parabola crosses the x-axis in two different places. Now, looking at this first one, we're going to identify the number of solutions, and we're going to tell what the solution is. We're going to see where does this parabola cross the x-axis. And as you can see, I have already marked it, it's crossing it in two places right here. So let's look at this first one now. I've already got it worked out for you. So you start off with x equals, draw your little squiggly lines, not parentheses, but the little squiggly lines, and they don't have to be perfect. As you can see, mine are not perfect. And this parabola crosses the x-axis right here at a -4 and 0. So this one has two solutions because it crosses the x-axis at two places. Now, look at number 2. I want you to look at number 2 and see if you can do this on your own. Put me on pause when you do this. Let's look at number 2. Now, you're going to identify the zeros or those roots or solutions or x-intercepts, and you see this parabola is only touching the x-axis in one place, so it just has one solution, and it will be x equals to -2, and put it in the little squiggly lines. Look at number 3. Can you do this by yourself? Pause me when you try. Let's look at number 3. So number 3, this one is not even touching the x-axis. Nevertheless, it does not even cross the x-axis. So we say this is x is empty to this is an empty set right here. So it's equal to an empty set, and we put that this does not equal to 0. It just means that it's no solution because it does not cross it or touch it at all. So this is what you do if it's a no solution. Look at number 4. Can you do this? Pause me while you try. Now, let's look at number 4. Number 4, the solutions for this one is a -3 and 3, and you see how I've written it right here, and it crosses it at two places. So this one does cross at two places. Now, what we're going to do is fill in this information right here, quadratic roots, and we're going to look at also what is it called, and then we're going to draw out our graphs. Can you fill any of this in? Pause me when you look at it. Let's look at this first one. So when I look at this right here, you see the quadratic roots. Look down at the bottom. Quadratic roots is the point at which the parabola intersects the x-axis. And there are 4 different ways that you can come up and say the solutions. They're called roots, zeros, solutions, or x-intercepts. And this is what it looks like. So when you're looking at the number solution, the parabola is crossing the x-axis at 2 different places. One solution is only touching it right here in one place, and then the parabola right here that's up in the air, whether it's facing up or down, it doesn't matter. It's not touching the x-axis, so this is a no solution. Now, what we're going to do is look at your worksheet, and you're going to look at 1, 2, and 3. Most of this is exactly like what we've been working on the last few weeks. The only difference is now we're just adding about the x-intercepts right here, the solutions to it, the roots. So looking at the first one right here, and we're going to do this one together. Here's the first one. And so now we're going to use negative b. We're going to find the AOS. So we're using negative b over 2a. So go to alpha y equals and put in negative 4 over 2 times your a, which is 1, and come up with your AOS. Then substitute it back in. Once you find your AOS, substitute it back in, and that will be your vertex, and then write your vertex here. Now, so let's look at this one right here. I've already done it first one for you. So when you look at the AOS, you see that it is a negative 2 right here, x equals negative 2. You write it right here, come up with your other points, go and put this in y1, and then when you look at this right here, and I'm going to do that. So I'm going to, let's see, can I get this? There we go. I'm going to go to turn it on, and I'm going to go to y equals, and I'm going to put in x squared plus 4x minus 5, and then I'm going to go to second and graph, and I know that my vertex is at negative 2, negative 9, so I'm going to go up to it, negative 2, negative 9 right here, and then I'm going to write these 2 points above it and the 2 points down below it, and then I'm going to plot them over here. And after you plot them, as you can see, it's already been plotted right here, go to graph and check. Does your parabola look like this? And if it doesn't, fix it. Then you see that you're going to answer these. So the vertex is at negative 2, negative 9 right here. This is the minimum because it's at the bottom. The curve is at the bottom. It is crossing the x-axis at a negative 5 and 1, and make sure you write it correctly. And the range is y is greater than, because it's facing up, and greater than or equal to a negative 9, and the direction is up. And yes, this is increasing. No, it is not decreasing. Since it is facing up, it is an increasing parabola. It's going on forever and ever to infinity. And you see that it is crossing at 2 places. Now, what I want you to do is this. I want you to look at 2 and 3 and see if you can answer 2 and 3 by yourself. Put me on pause when you do this. Now, let's go ahead and let's look at number 2. Does your number 2 look like this? You see that this only has one solution. It is touching the x-axis in one place, and this right here is the minimum. The vertex is at 1, 0, and the AOS is x equals 1. It is facing up, and it is increasing. No, it's not decreasing. The range is y is greater than or equal to 0, because all of these numbers right here are greater than 0, and it is one solution. Now, look at number 3. On number 3, you see that this parabola is facing down. The AOS is x equals to 1. The vertex is at 1, negative 2. It is the maximum because it is facing down. The top of the curve is at the top, and this one has 0 solutions because It is not even touching the x-axis at all. And so you put an empty set right here and you put no, it's not equal to 0. This right here, the range is y is less than or equal to -2. Since it is facing down, it's going on to negative infinity. It's going on forever and ever and ever. So no, it's not increasing, but it is not increasing, but it is decreasing. Now, I want you to pause me while you work on 4, 5, and 6. Let's look at number 4. Does your number 4 look like this? You see that this has two solutions, and it is facing up. The AOS is at 5. The vertex is 5 and a -9. It is a minimum. The curve is at the bottom. The range is y is greater than or equal to a -9, and it is increasing. It's going on forever and ever to positive infinity. And no, it's not decreasing, and it does have two solutions. What about number 5? Does your number 5 look like this? If not, correct it. It has two solutions. The AOS is 0 and the vertex is at 0, 9. And it does have a maximum because it is facing down right here. The curve is at the top. And the range is y is less than or equal to 9 because all of these numbers down below here are smaller than a 9. It is decreasing because it's going on forever and ever toward negative infinity. And it does have two solutions right here. And remember, don't use parentheses right here. Use these little squiggly lines like this. And it does not have to be perfect. Look at number 6. Does your number 6 look like this? If it doesn't, make sure it does. The AOS is x equals to 1. This is a decreasing parabola because it's decreasing towards the negative infinity. It's going on forever, ever, and ever. And the range right here is y is less than a 4. You see that, yes, it has two solutions. It is crossing the x-axis at 0 and 2. And this is the maximum. The vertex is at 1, 4. Now, let's recap a minute. Think about it. I want you to write down the points at which a quadratic equation intersects the x-axis are referred to as what? What are the 4 different ways you can think of it? Then I want you to come up with the AOS, the vertex, domain, range, and zeros of 1 and 2 right here. Pause me while you do so. Let's check. Did you come up with this? There's the points at which a quadratic equation intersects the x-axis are referred to as roots, solutions, zeros, and x-intercepts. Then, when you work these out, number 1, the AOS is x equal -3. The vertex is -3, 4. The domain is all real numbers. Remember, this is abbreviation for all real numbers. The range is y is less than or equal to 4. And the roots is x equals to -5, -2. So this one would have two solutions because it is crossing the x-axis at -5 and -1. This one has right here two solutions. And the AOS is x equals -3. The vertex is -3, 4. Domain is all real numbers. The range y is less than or equal to 4. And yes, it does cross it. The x-axis, the parabola crosses it in two different places, -5 and a -1. And let's check that for just a minute. See if this is correct. I think I may have written it down wrong. So let's check. Let's go to this one, and this should be 4x, and this should be +4. And then we're going to graph it. And no, I thought that did not look correct. So we're going to look at this right here. I'm going to change that. And yes, everyone makes mistakes, and so when you're looking at this right here, I just accidentally copied and looked at the wrong thing. So we see that this right here is crossing at -1, -2. This is crossing at a -2 right here. So look at this, and -2, And that's not very pretty, but yes, there it is. And when I go back here, I see that if I wanted to take this and let's zoom out, well, it's going to be hard to see, but it is -1, -2. And the range right here. And it looks like the range, as I see that I just copied down the wrong thing. So let's just go back and redo this one right here. So when I look at this right here, the AOS, as I'm looking at this, I see the AOS is right here at X is -2. That would be the -2 right here. So I'm going to put a -2 right here. The vertex the vertex is right here, and the vertex is at -2, 0. So we'll put a -2 and put this as 0. But the range is still the same. And the Y now, when I look at this, the range, you see that all of this right here, if you go over to the Y-axis, all of this right here is greater than, and I'm going to put greater than 0. Now, let's look at this again. I apologize for that. When I was writing it down, I just automatically wrote down the other answers as I was looking at this. So I see that the vertex is at -2, 0. And since it's facing up, this is increasing and it's going towards positive infinity. The vertex is at -2, 0. Domain is all real numbers. The range is Y is greater than or equal to 0. The x-intercepts right here is at a -2 right here. Now, let's look at this one more time. Look at number 13, 14, and 15. Pause me when you come up with the zeros. Let's look at number 15. Number 15, you see that x right here equals to -4, -2 right here. That's where it crosses the x-axis. This one crosses at a 1 and a 7. And the x-axis, the x-intercepts right here are at a -3 and 5. Now, go back and I want you to finish your work.